Hi everybody, welcome back. Today we're looking at ratios and proportions. Our learning targets today are first, I can compare ratios, and the second one is I can solve proportions. So by the end of this we want to be able to have a pretty good handle on being able to do those two things. Okay, let's look at a couple definitions. First, a ratio is just going to be a comparison of two numbers by division. For example, like the fraction 2/6 or 1/9 and anything else you want to come up with that relates to numbers by division. Fractions are a common way of doing that. Now if two ratios, and I'm going to change this right now, are equivalent, they're going to be proportional. In other words, they form a proportion. We can solve proportions for the missing variable. So if we have a proportion set up, again, let's look at the ratios first. So in this case, they can be written like this. And so we have two ratios, 12:3 and 4:1. We're trying to see if they're equivalent. So now we can end up with them in fraction form, and we can basically do what they said here, 12 divided by 3, and that can look like this. 4 divided by 1 can look like this. So now we're saying that they are equal to each other. In fact, if we divided 12 by 3, we'd get 4. And over here we have 4 over 1. It means the same thing, so they are in fact equivalent. So they would be proportional. A proportion then is just an equation that shows that two ratios are equivalent. And just looking at, we'll just look at these first three. Which of these are equivalent ratios? So again, we compare these 3 and 8 to 12 and 32. Now notice if we multiplied 3 times 4 we would get 12, and if we multiplied 8 times 4 we would get 32, so this one would be equivalent. And then in this case we have 16/9 and 4/3. Just take a second to go through that and see what you come up with. Okay, now we'll just look at it, and so if we went this way and took 4 times 4 we'd get to 16. If we took 3 times 4 we would get to 12, so that's going to be different than 9. So in other words, if we multiplied both the denominator and the numerator by the same thing we would get a different result. So this one would not be proportional. They're not equal, so it's not a proportion. And then this last one, if we multiplied 20 times 4, we would get 80. If we multiplied 4 times 4, we would get 16. So that one would in fact be proportional. Okay, so again, proportion is just two ratios that are equivalent to each other, and that then would be shown by an equal sign. So item 1 up here and item 3 down here would be proportional. The second item here would not be. And just looking at this one more, we can solve for proportions. Now here's one where we found out it was proportional in the last example. And another way you can do it with proportions is the cross products are going to be equal. So if it is in fact a proportion, the cross products will equal each other. So if we took 20 times 16 on this side and 4 times 80 and put it on this side, they should be equal to each other. And if we in fact did that, 20 times 16 is going to be 320. And 4 times 80 is also going to be 320. And they do equal each other, so this one again is proportional. So we just proved what we found out in the previous example as well. Now let's look at this one. So what we're saying is we can set up a proportion and we know 3 of the parts. We can find out what the missing part is no matter where it is. It could be in any position here, and we can find out by using the cross product. So let's just work through this. So we take the cross products. We're saying 5 times 40 should be equal to 25 times n. And now we're just going to solve for n. So on this side 5 times 40 is 200. On this side 25 times n is just written as 25n. So now we have 200 equals 25n, and now we're going to divide both sides by 25 to get n by itself. And when we go ahead and do that, we end up then with n equals 8. Okay, because 200 divided by 25 is 8, and these 25s would cancel each other out, so we get n equals 8. So we can use these proportions, we can set up a proportion and use that to solve for the missing variable. So hopefully this video helped a little bit, and I will look forward to talking to you in class soon, and thanks very much for listening. Have a very good day. We'll see you soon.